Hey guys, welcome back. Fred Kynes here with all kinds of classics. All right, we're still moving forward with the HEMI. The focus here now is on the valley cover and getting that aluminum valley cover fitted with the thermostat housing and the oil fill tube. So here we begin with just talking about some odds and ends. Um, I'm still waiting for the suspension parts order at this point, and I want to try to get as many of the side jobs and things of that nature taken care of. Um, I wrap up this video with a small amount of philosophy. We'll call it Fred's philosophy. But we're here at episode 24, 24th episode so far in this series, and we are filling the time waiting for the big stuff to happen with all of the small stuff. And by now, we have migrated to a decision on a HEMI engine, a 331 HEMI, and this guy is going to have more than the 4-barrel carburetor and your basic 331 180 horse build. So I'm trying to get creative and create something that is unique for a hot rod, but reliable and something that I think you'll enjoy. But at this point, we're working on some of the fun stuff, and I'm trying to collect my thoughts. And I give a little excerpt at the end of the video on my philosophy. So hey, enjoy the video, like, subscribe, ring the bell, please share it. This channel is growing, and I'm having fun enjoying watching it grow and listening to your comments. Thanks for the comments that have come in. You guys, you're remarkable. You're remarkable. Thanks a lot.
Well, I have the thermostat housing near completion. If you recall that little design that had a couple of bungs coming in, and that's currently I got a buddy who's a really good aluminum TIG welder, and so I built the piece. I wish I had it here, but I built the piece with the block to space up the top and bottom plates. Put a spacer in it, just a steel spacer, and ran a bolt down through it, and hold the whole thing together, and then constructed the sides around it. Now the ends were radiused, and I did make a different bottom plate, but the ends were radiused, and the top plate, or pardon me, the front and back, if you will, the long plates on the long dimension were welded on last night. And then I brought that home and then bored out the thermostat hole, machined in the threaded holes for the thermostat housing. I put a step in it to retain the thermostat, and then bored two 1-inch holes in the backside, or what would go underneath the intake manifold to the sides of the head, with some AN fittings. In this case, they were AN 10s, I think, AN 8s or AN 10s. And so he's got that right. And so I machined that and ran that back over to him this morning, and he's welding that up. It may be done, but I'll pick it up before the end of the day here today. So that, if you recall, was mounting on. I was going to use this hole right here, so that housing would send off a little bit to the passenger side, and then those two hoses would come out and connect to the cylinder heads with some nice AN fittings, okay? And so, still, whether I weld that to this or not, that's all kind of down the road after I get the intake build. I got to know if it's going to fit there. What's the constraint? The intake, the runner, for the intake plenum, going up to the plenum itself, what is going to be the constraint. So since I don't know what that is at this point, I can still continue on. I know we need to have a valley pan. You can see, if you remember from the last picture, that I have a hole in this valley pan, and that's what takes me back to the beginning. This is the original HEMI. This is what sat under the intake manifold. That then went up to a filler tube or something of that nature. Um, Filler tube, a breather, something like that. It's a two-piece unit, so this is a top, and it's just a basic stamping, but it rises. It's crowns, if you will. And then underneath it, then is another pan. And why, in 53, I don't think they were looking at trying to isolate rocker noise or anything like that, but another pan with an entry, obviously, and then a hole for a drain. So, since the valve covers don't have any provisions for PVC, PCV, or for oil fill, and I don't want to change those because they're inscripted, right? So I don't want to do that. I'm going to fill my oil, but I chose to. This is the rear of the engine. I chose to grab this back corner instead of the center, so that it can come out the passenger side. And again, on the front then will be my thermostat housing. So I went with a flat setup. And certainly I don't want to just dump the oil into the pan because there would be a lot of splash and going on underneath. So I decided to put a baffle in it, and we'll take a look at that. So took quite a bit of work because I am right up into the corner with it. So because of that, I've got 3 volts holding it on here, and grab my camera. I decided to build a trough. So I just hand formed some 1/8" aluminum and made a trough. And in this case, I MIG welded it on. You could see where my start and stops are on the MIG weld, but I mean, I'm not that overly concerned about that. I'm more concerned about it doesn't really matter if it leaks; it's an internal leak. Concerned about fitment. So I welded it on, and I continued to dress and polish this corner because I wanted that hole, in this case an 1¼ inch hole, as far to that corner as I possibly can. So I've been able to accomplish that. The OD of the tube for an oil fill for a standard run-of-the-mill breather cap is 1 3/8. So I will get a piece of tubing that's 1 3/8 aluminum. I will turn a step to 1 1/4, taking a 1/16 off the radius in the lathe, and then I will friction fit it into here or tack it, whatever. But since I got 1/4 inch thickness on this plate, I'm pretty confident I can get him to work just fine. So that's what I've been able to do today, amongst many other things. But she is coming along. She is coming along. Again, bells and trinkets and odds and ends just to get this thing near the preparation for installing them. So, thank you very much. So I got to thinking, looking for an oil dip tube and that kind of thing, and then I was digging around and I found these pieces of stainless. Got whatever, 1 2 3 4 5 ribs on them. The foot pegs for a bicycle, So I thought I'll turn one down, shave off the end of it. So I chucked it up and turned it down to a press fit. I just like that. It's nice stainless, it's beefy. And it's press fit. I'm not gonna press it in yet, but how about that? That is so cool. I still have to figure out what I'm gonna do for the top. Find a cap, stick it in the lathe and thread it. I don't know. Just saw it laying there and I thought, what the hell? Give it a whirl. All right. You can see just kind of drizzling and cleaning it up. And this, as I'm going to finer and finer pads, you know, this obviously could be polished. I need to set this down somewhere. So this is the thermostat housing. This will be the engine side. Those two hoses go out to the cylinder heads, and this winds up being the there we go. So this winds up being the thermostat housing. I think you get the idea. So that looks pretty cool, I guess. And I could come into the side with the temp, if I wanted a temp, come on, sensor, a temperature, you know what I mean. A temperature sensor, fan switch, anything of that nature. I've certainly got plenty of room in this little box to do that. So, there we go. Two hoses come out to the cylinder heads. I got a mess. Come out to the cylinder heads to let the water in, and the hole in the very bottom. So the intent is to use that hole. Let's see here. Okay, line it up with the bottom hole. That kind of thing at the front of the motor. Okay. And she's starting to take some shape. So, getting pretty happy with it. And the thing is this, I'll never get this to polish, and I don't mind with the accents, you know. I don't know, jury's out on what I'm going to do with the color, because I'm not going to put a lot of chrome on here, or shiny on here, because I'll probably, you know, maybe even have an engine cover on here. I don't know. It all depends on how pretty that manifold looks, I suppose. And really thinking I'll probably wind up powder coating most of it. So I will get it cleaned up, you know, everything polished up. But this is going to need filled because the lettering isn't perfect on it. There's a little chip, you know, and a walk. And so whether I powder coat it or paint it, but you can, of course, I can get conductive filler, conductive epoxy, whatever, to touch all those areas up. But the point is that I don't know what I'm gonna do for shiny versus not shiny. Anyway, the thing is it's moving along, and the components are starting to stack up on top of things, and it's starting to look pretty cool, and I'm starting to get pretty excited. Of course, you know, I've been excited because that suspension's coming in. So anyway, still making progress slowly, eking away at the bits. Have a good one. Hello. Got another one of them days. It's the morning right now. Just getting ready to head off to work, and don't really have a lot. Didn't even think about anything. All I did when I walked in this morning was decided to put the camera on top of the tripod to have a conversation with you. The last video that I did involved a conversation on the wiring harness, getting the wiring harness put together, and getting some degree of motivation to get the suspension part so that I can start on the frame. So that's the timing of this video. We got an email last night
and it was about from the suspension guy, and it was about, hey, I got all the parts back from the metal fabrication, the cutting shop, and we're ready to ship them. I got them back. They're welded up, and then we're ready to ship them. And that would be the front suspension, cross member, and the cups or the spring pockets for the top spring pockets, and be the upper control arm mounts, I guess. Anyway, so the point being that, well, hell, can I ship them? And in fact, we'll direct ship the rest of the stuff from the coilover springs, the spindles, those kinds of things that are replacement parts. So disc brake kits and all that stuff. So yeah, ship it all, invoice it all. How much do you want me to invoice you? And at this point, ship it all. Ship it all. So I expect to see that stuff coming. It should be, bleeding in next week. So we're talking about Southeast America coming up to Central Plains America. So hopefully a week covers pretty much any place, doesn't it? Anyway, you're going to package it up and ship it, and I anticipate seeing the final payment and moving forward on this. So that means that I can hopefully next week start welding suspension components on, spraying or painting the frame, getting inside after it's welded up, getting inside here with a sprayer and spraying the interior side of the frame, wet sanding or dry sanding, but anyway, scratching up the entire frame to get the surface prepared. Got the brake booster coming, fabricating up the mount for that. But anyway, in general, starting to mock everything up for the rolling chassis. So for me, that's kind of exciting. That's kind of exciting. How's the rest of the world around me? Pretty good. I don't know what to say. I'm an older gentleman that is trying to make his way in this world and keep my passion and keep my hobbies flowing. Do the kinds of things that I like to do, which is maintain strong relationships with people. Be passionate about whatever it is I do, and certainly try to make a difference in the world. And part of that's this. What did I learn over the years, and how do I apply it, and how do I keep my head screwed on straight? That's certainly one side of it, sharing that. I don't think that's an arrogant thing. It's just, hey, if you can learn from it, you can learn from it. Maybe more of a servant leadership type of a role. Most of my history has been centered around leadership or managerial related positions and development of policy and procedure and setting some sort of precedent for an organization. And to this day, I'm in and out of that, but for various reasons and for various sized companies and for reasons that relate back to my biology. I mean, my makeup, and that is, we're all a little bit different, but I don't necessarily like to stay any place for a long period of time, and I like to do the best job that I can, the best job I can. Well, that's kind of inevitable, unless you're pathetic. But you always do what you can do because you always want to make an impression. You always want to do the right thing because that's natural and that's human. When it comes to stuff like this, I do this for me. I serve myself and the appreciation that I have, and I look for recognition to accentuate that appreciation. So
That's where I find the passion in this. Outside of work, I look for development and look in my social mirror, right? I look beyond myself to see how others reflect back, and that's my measurement of satisfaction there. I mean, there is nobody in particular that's running around and say, good job. It's typically manifests through all the other things that we do in life, the conversations that we engage in, and the people that we influence or influence us. So um, I have ADHD, so I tend to move on, and I don't use that as an excuse. I use it as a reason. I don't give a shit, but I have to give some shit to it because I wanted to try to identify with why I constantly move from one subject matter to the next, and how I can stay in focus. And I struggle even with these videos, as you can see, moving from one topic to the next. I try to predetermine and set up a sequence of events and to some degree pre-stage, so that it keeps my mind moving from in a pattern through the process. But inevitably I talk about four things in my head at the same time, and I have to choose between one of those four things to continue the conversation, and at times I shift. So if that's confusing for you, I apologize. It's all just part of it, and I'm certain that many of you out there have the same, follow it word for word, letter for letter, because that condition exists within your life, and to a certain degree I consider it a strength. I've never considered it a weakness. I consider it an opportunity to view things several different ways. Why did I shift to this? Because that's what I do. Anyway, more than anything, this is just a rambling, because I'm taking up the gap between standing in the shop and looking around and trying to fill the airspace between now and when my truck is ready to start and warm up and go to work. So without further ado, I'm going to terminate this video. Have yourself a good one.